Thank you for allowing me to join you. I'm hoping that doing this Zoom, we can open your eyes to some possibilities with renovation financing. I'm not sure what if you have any information on renovation. There's old dispelled rumors that need to go away with it, but I'm hoping we'll be able to shed some light on what you can do with renovation, how we work the program, and give you some ideas for homes that you own that maybe need to be updated, or if you're looking to purchase a house, show you how you can buy something that might not be your dream home yet, but maybe it's in the greatest area that you've needing, and we can make that home what you want it to be for now, or however long it's going to be. Um, anyway, so renovation loans have come into play originally years ago when they came in. FHA started them, but they were only available for homes that had required repairs. An appraiser went out, they had to have repairs, and FHA would allow the borrower to borrow money to make those repairs on that property. The program's been rewritten over the years, and now you can basically buy a house that maybe is 50 years old and maybe it's in the best neighborhood, best school zone, but the kitchen is from 1973 and it needs a new roof and new windows. Or maybe you don't like the interior of it all and you want to gut it and start over. That's what renovation financing allows you to do. It allows you to either take a home you own now that you love, but it needs some work, and make it into your dream home, or purchase one that you really think is great and make it the house you need to be in the future. So, in today's market, as we know, inventory goes quickly. If a house has been renovated recently and is updated, not only do those properties sell at a much higher price, but typically there are multiple offers. They go very quickly when they hit the market. They don't last very long. When you see people advertising, or you see an ad for a home that says needs some TLC, or it's quaint, or something along those lines, typically it's maybe it's an older home, maybe there's something that needs to be done to it, maybe there's problems that aren't being disclosed yet, but the prices on their homes can be substantially less than a home that has been completely renovated. So that's where renovation comes in. If you found a home like that, you could buy that home at a reduced price and make it what you want inside, and bring it up to where you want it to be. You know, the old saying, they tell you to buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. That's kind of the adage. Buy the one that needs some work in the best neighborhood, best school zone, and make it your house. Um, the I had she put these statistics up. I've been on a webinar, and they were talking that 65% of the houses in the US are over 25 years old. And houses age. Nothing stays new forever. They need work. Windows start to fail, HVAC goes, electrical goes. And when the older the homes are, those systems, I guess, if you will, are deteriorating. Go ahead, Allie. Um, in 2023, 82% of homeowners, again, obviously just says that one area of their home or another needed maintenance. Now, as is human nature, if you've got a AC unit that's running, maybe it's a Band-Aid and you have to fix it periodically and it's not running at peak performance, but it's keeping your house comfortable. Human nature says that, look, it's going to run me 15,000 for a new HVAC system, but I need that money for other things right now. And they tend to postpone those repairs. I don't know if any of you do. I know that I do. I'm bad about waiting until the last minute, and then I'm desperate. So anyway, the costs for those repairs are going up. They increase every year. So postponing it's not always the greatest idea. Sometimes we have to get out of our own way to get things fixed. Go ahead. And of those homers, 40% of those think that they're going to need new windows, new roof, new HVAC. I know that I'm looking at replacing all of that in this summertime. I'm surprised at the difference in prices in the last 4 years. So I know why these repairs are getting postponed. Renovation financing is a way for someone that needs all of that to go refinance the home that they own, or put new systems like these on a new home and carry the cost of that out over a 30-year period in a mortgage, versus having to write a check for 15 or 20 or $50,000, depending on what you're doing to your house. Not everybody has that money sitting in their bank account. So a renovation loan, what is it? Renovation loan differs from construction financing. New construction financing, you're building a house from the ground up. The loan amount is set. If you need additional work as you're going on, you can increase the loan amount until the house is done, and then you finance into permanent financing. Renovation loan is a one-time closed loan. We are going to come up with a budget for your home in the beginning. There's what we call a specification of repair completed. That renovation budget added to either your purchase price on a new home or a current balance on a refinance, that would become our new loan amount. So you're borrowing the renovation money as part of that first mortgage. The beauty of it is that we're able to do it based on the future value of your house. When the budget for your home repair or your renovation is drawn up, the specification of repair is what you call it, that becomes your renovation budget. It breaks down everything that's going to be done on your house, from siding to kitchens and bathrooms and flooring and HVAC and electrical. It breaks everything down. That document is presented to the appraiser. And when they come out to appraise your home, they're going to appraise your home not in its current value or current state. They're going to evaluate it as though all of the work on that budget has already been done. So we're getting the benefit of the future value. That's how we're able to lend those renovation funds, pull that money out and put it into an escrow for you to be able to do the work. There are different types of loans. There was originally, as TC stated, it started with FHA. FHA was the first people to come out. It's a government-backed loan. The 203K program now has two components to it. It has a 203K limited and a 203K standard. The limited program is for, watch, I think if we can go to the next one, I think it's not, there you go. The 203K limited is for non-structural repairs. It doesn't necessarily, we don't have to hire a consultant to oversee the job. They are going to be maxed out at $75,000 in contractor costs. So you could do updated kitchens or a bathroom, maybe a new roof and windows in that dollar amount. Nothing structural. That's going to be the limited program. Remember, when we're doing these, we can do paint, flooring, appliances, anything that is a permanent fixture to the house can be included in this. Go ahead. The standard program is basically the same thing, but there's no limit to it. The standard program allows us to increase the footprint of the house. Maybe you've got parents coming to live with you and you need a new bedroom and a bathroom, or maybe you're just in a small house and you've had two kids and you need more space. This will allow for those kind of repairs. There have been homes in the past that it was less expensive for the buyers to take the house down to the foundation and rebuild it because the structure itself was so bad. FHA 203K standard will allow us to do that. The caveat is none of the foundation can be removed. It has to stay in place. If the foundation is removed, it's considered new construction, and that's a whole different ballgame. There will be the requirement to hire a HUD consultant. The consultant will become the liaison that will work between you and your contractor. He'll oversee the project for you. As the contractor request draws, the consultant is the person that would come out, take pictures of the work, complete paperwork, and get the draw paperwork ready to go. But the standard program will allow you to do anything. If you want to do an addition to the house, you can do that. It has to be attached to the property itself, but it can be done. But it's not going to allow for higher end finishes. You're not going to be able to put a swimming pool in the backyard under this program, or build a detached garage or a pool house, something to that lines. Everything has to be part of the original structure of the home. We've got two conventional loan programs. One is called a Fannie Mae, the other is Choice Renovation. Both of these programs really mimic the FHA 203K programs, but because they're conventional programs, they're they up the game, so to speak. Conventional loans typically will allow, therefore, higher credit scores, maybe a lower debt to income ratio. The biggest benefit is under both of these conventional programs, they will allow us to do renovation loans for a second home or a vacation home. We can do it for investment properties, which you can't do with FHA. FHA is owner occupied only. And it will also allow for higher end renovations. So that swimming pool that you wanted to put in can be done under the Fannie Mae Homestyle program. You want to build a detached garage and use it as a pool house, you can do that under this program as well. You can also expand the footprint, add additional bedrooms, take all the walls down and redo the interior of the home, but you cannot take your homes down to the foundation under either of the conventional programs. That's only going to be available under your FHA program. The other option is the Freddie Mac Choice Renovation, which is basically the same program as the Homestyle. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are just two different companies. They have the same program. They work the same guidelines. Both of these programs, as well as the FHA standard 203K, if you are purchasing a house and you're going to gut the house and you're going to completely move the walls and just reimagine the inside of that property, not everybody can afford to make a new mortgage payment, and you can't live in a house, obviously, that's been gutted. So all of these programs will allow you as the borrower to borrow up to 6 months of your mortgage payment to help cover the costs in case you have to move out of the property or you can't move into it. You need to pay rent somewhere. So if you're having work done and it's not going to be habitable for 3 months or 4 months, we can build the price of that into your renovation budget so that you're not trying to carry the cost of current rent and a new mortgage payment. So, which homes qualify? Single family homes, obviously, condominiums, 2 to 4 family units, and mixed use properties. I'll tell you, one of the first ones that I did when I started with Tidewater was a first time buyer. She bought a duplex and she re-sided the whole thing. The other side was rented and rented it enough that her tenant made her house payment. She renovated her unit and updated the outside, and she's walked into a pretty sweet deal for a first-time home buyer. Mixed use properties, that's going to be, maybe it's like some of these buildings you see that have got a commercial space downstairs and there's living quarters upstairs, maybe, 1 or 2 apartments or what have you. As long as there is a residence upstairs that you are going to live in as a homeowner, we can do renovation on your property. Now it's only going to be on your unit. I can't renovate all of the units. I can renovate your unit unless we're doing this as under the renovation, the conventional loans. And that's kind of getting a little muddy there, but we could talk of that if you're interested. Again, your conditions, you're looking for homes that maybe are fixer-uppers. Maybe something needs structural work. Maybe you found a home that when you're walking in, you feel the floors are a little squishy and maybe the foundation needs to be propped up. We can do renovations on those properties. Disaster, maybe in a house that's been destroyed by a fire or flooded and the home really needs to be renovated. We can do that with the renovation financing as well. So this is which cosmetic, floors, paint, carpet, update your kitchens and bathrooms. Your functional upgrades are the ones I was talking about. Those are the systems. Those can be pretty pricey. When you talk about a roof and plumbing and electrical and HVAC, those are not cheap repairs, but they need to be maintained when they go. It can be expensive. So being able to do that, wrap it up and carry that payment out over 30 years is a great option. Lifestyle, maybe you need a new office or you need new living spaces for parents that are moving in with you. And then, of course, the eco-friendly stuff we can do. If you want to put in energy efficient windows or you want to do the solar panels, that's all available under these renovation programs as well. I will tell you, I talk to no fewer than 2 renovation borrowers at least a week, sometimes more than that. what I've come to find out is when they talk about lower upfront costs, it really is because not everybody, if someone's HVAC goes out or in the middle of the summer and they've got these big costs, if you're looking at a $15,000 HVAC replacement, and Chris will be able to tell us more what that kind of stuff costs, but not everybody's got $15,000 sitting around to make those kind of repairs. So it can be cheaper because you're not paying it up front. You're adding it to your loan and then you're paying the loan payment over the course of the mortgage. Again, it's one closing. We're going to close your loan. At the end, we're going to pull all your renovation money out. It goes into an interest-bearing escrow account. The money is safe. You start making payments. Rate payment's not going to change. When she talks about customization on here, we are looking to make your home what you want it to be. Some people have their dream homes. Other people's are in an area that they want, but there are things they want to update. It's kind of like us as we age, we want to make changes to ourselves and we want to make them to our homes too. And it builds equity because when you make these repairs, even if you made the repairs now, 10 years down the road, if you've updated it, it's going to be worth more money then than if you had never done anything to it at all. Somebody's asking if you're having, oh, I'm sorry, that's Richard. I thought it's where somebody asked a question here. Oh, how long do you have to be in your home before you can apply for funding? It doesn't matter. You can, as long as you have got the equity, we can talk. If there's no prepayment on your mortgage, you can move in and turn around and do it right away. I don't know that I've never not been able to do one due to how long someone's been in their home. Your time frame for completion, it says 45 to 60 days from the time we take an application and get a contract to the time we close. And I'll tell you, if you don't have a contractor in mind already, it can take maybe 60 days, only because contractors are really busy and you have to get someone out to be able to get you an estimate. And then you need to get the consultant out to prepare the budget. And that can take some time if you don't know who you're looking to hire. 45 days is a more accurate turnaround for us. I can help you, with that. If your contractor has never done a 203K or a renovation loan, I am more than happy to speak to them, to go over the program with them, work with them to get the documentation that we need so that we can get them approved to act as the contractor under our renovation program. And each of the programs has a time frame. These are not open-ended. They have to close at some point. So normal course of business will tell you you've got 6 months to complete the project. And on a limited 203K, those are, like I said, those are non-structural repairs. Those typically turn pretty quickly. The standard 203K and both of the conventional loans, 6 months is the average. We can request extensions from the investor and push it out to about 12 months if need be. And the higher or the more in depth the renovation is, the easier that is. I'm going to show you some pictures in a little bit. And we had a couple of them that went to 12 and 13 months because they had gutted the interiors. And it took longer to complete with, getting materials and inspections and whatnot. The thing to know is that you want an idea of who you want to use as a contractor. We have a list of contractors that we have worked with that are familiar with renovation, that have met the licensing and insurance requirements, and we can make that list available, or we can work with your contractor to get them approved, or we'll get Chris approved and we'll get Chris to come and help us with these. So that can be done as part of your loan program, but if you have an idea of who you want, it helps. And it's really important to stay flexible with timelines. That's no joke because you're going to think something's going to be done and then there's going to be delay in getting your windows, or it's going to rain and they can't, put the roof on. Construction changes with the wind. And so you just kind of have to be flexible with it and just know that when it's done, you're going to have the house that you wanted, the way that you want it, with the things that you've been looking for. So some of these pictures, what you're looking at here, the top 3 pictures, this was a townhouse down it was off of Shore Drive in Ocean Park, I think is where it was. It had been in a fire. So the interior of it was completely, when we started, everything was a gray color because it was nothing but ash. The man went in and gutted it, completely. And there's just a couple of pictures of the finished project. Did the siding, you wouldn't even have known it was the same property. It was amazing what it could do. And I think we took right at about 5 months on his because he wasn't living there and they were able to go in, they were able to get that one knocked out, but it doesn't always work that way. So, and go ahead. This is a house down across from Norfolk State, right across street from the university. The man is a professor there and bought that house. And it was like built in, I think, 1910. The foundation wasn't good. It was old. It was outdated. He gutted the interior, redid all of the exterior. He ended up shoring up the foundation with, had it raised with I don't know what they call them, the things that they do under the house with the lifts and what have you. Anyway, and reconfigured the whole interior of the house. And there's not a lot of pictures, but I'm telling you, I've seen it. It was something else to see. I mean, he looked like he had more. He didn't change a thing. It was same square footage, but the layout made it look like he had so much more room. It's amazing what you can do. Go ahead. So if you're interested, what I would say is if you own a home or if you're looking at a home, make a list of everything you think you ever want to do to that house. And I mean everything. Cover it top to bottom. Find out what it's going to cost and find out if it's something you can afford. If the payment is too high or you go, whoo, I don't want to spend that much, well, good. Then we start at the bottom of the list and we take off the things that are of least importance to you. But that's the only way you're going to make sure you're covering everything you do want done is to get it on paper and go from there. So let me see, I got a couple of questions here. Says, should we have a contractor and estimate before applying? You don't need it before applying. If you're trying to just get an estimate, I can qualify you and say, okay, this is as high as you can go. If it's a purchase, we can, whatever you qualify for, we'll back out a purchase price and give you an idea of what a budget would be. So we can always back into that if need be. You don't have to worry about that too much. And what's this one? What should a commercial property that the ministry wants to be turned into a new homeless housing family do in New Jersey? I can make a phone call if you get a hold of me. I don't lend in New Jersey, but I do have, we do have a company that does commercial type lending. I don't know how it would work with the ministry, but I do not have a problem asking the questions because that just gives me more arsenals in my backpack, if you will. But yeah, give me a call and I'll see what I can find out for you.
Thank you, Lori. I know we still have a few questions in the chat, but I want to make sure we get Chris his speaking minutes as well, so we can wrap up at the end with the other questions in there. I know, no, it's great information. So I love it, and everyone else needs to love it too. So without further ado, Chris, I'm gonna roll into you.
All right, and I won't take too much time. I'm sure everybody can read from the slides, but we can go to the next one. Ain't nothing there to see. So just common things to avoid, everyone, as Lori has talked to you about several things in terms of the programs and even having a list of contractors that they could recommend, and I'm sure they wouldn't tell you which one to use because they don't want to be liable, but they can just lay out a list, right? And so the biggest thing is just understanding your project. And as you approach that, no matter what you do and who you go with, even if you know someone, it's just good standard practice to get multiple bids just to be able to measure that up against what is or what isn't happening in the industry of things. Sometimes you get something a little too low and sometimes you get something too high, but that old cliche of you get what you pay for. You certainly don't want a jackleg doing your job. And so, get multiple bids and compare those, read through those. With the financing involved, and I'm sure that they would bring this up, but don't take your renovation budget all the way to the top. Leave a little room because in a renovation project, there is always something that comes up that no one could have anticipated. And the worst thing you could do is go back to Lori or one of our other folks and say, hey, I've ran out of money. I don't know what to do. And you're just kind of sitting there stuck. And there may be some solutions, but it's better to plan that up front. And so having a contingency of 10 to 20% is helpful there. Choosing the wrong contractor. I think if you go with some of the ones that's there, or if you just look some of them up, make sure they're licensed, they're insured, and the FHA approved. You need to note that there's different classifications of license out here within the state of Virginia, which are A, B, and C. Each one of them have their own, let's say, expertise, if you will, but a Class C contractor would only be able to do lawfully a contract of 0 to 10,000. And a Class B would be able to do an individual contract from 0 to 120, and where Class A, that's unlimited. So as you work with someone, just be sensitive to, if you have a complaint and they got a $15,000-$20,000 contract and you didn't do your own diligence to understand, you know, that doesn't fare well when you go to the license board to make a claim. So, but let's hope that never happens. And then, you know, as you go through skipping feasibility studies or having someone knowledgeable about, and this is not if, I think one of the questions was if you're in your home, but just looking at other properties, you know, having someone there that understands what they're looking at and understanding what you're going to be wanting to do, that would be very helpful as well. Delays in documentation. I know that Lori mentioned sometimes it's us contractors, and so now we're going to put it back on her. And sometimes it's the lender that wants additional things that we all have to work through. So quite honestly, it's a little bit of everybody. You know, it's us, it's them, it's trying to make this package the right for you as the either home buyer or owner. And then sometimes that's just in the design, if it takes some designing to and also permitting through the respective city that you have to go through as well, if that's the case and it's not something cosmetic. Be watchful for over improving your home in the wrong neighborhood. We all like nice things. Sometimes we want to stay where we want to stay, and you don't want to do something that over improves your property, where if you do choose to sell, and let's say you never choose to sell, but you leave it for your family members, and then they can't sell it and get, you know, what you've invested out of it. So be sensitive to that as well. And then stay involved with your project. Just because you hire somebody that's a Class A or somebody you know, it's the worst thing to do to walk away from your money. And then Lori sends out her group to come out to, you know, each time you do a draw of something and something's messed up and the contractor can't get a draw and everything gets kind of haywire. And most of the time, just staying engaged where you can answer the appropriate questions and just being involved makes all the difference in the world. And we'll go to the next one now. In some of these, you know, I don't need to tell you many of these things, and I'll skip through fairly quick. Go to the highest and best return if you're going to be looking at this, you know, these types of renovations and getting this amortized over 30 years in a loan. So you want to spend that money on what brings you the most value. Be sensitive to the energy efficiency of what goes on. That's in your windows, insulation, HVAC. It's some of these things up front that's have more value to them, and sometimes you can't necessarily see it because it's not paint. It's sitting outside in the back of the yard. You never pay attention to those things, but you know that makes a difference. Any structural components, you know what I mean, just be sensitive to those. Curb appeal enhancements go a long way, and I'm seeing things more if you're interested in potentially selling, but you know, some of those smart home features, thermostats, security, lighting control systems, things like that, that's really moving with times and also can stem into the energy efficiency of the home. And then if you're doing something beyond cosmetics, please, please, please make sure you have your contractor get a permit, because it's the worst thing when you don't get a permit. You come back at a later date, you get it appraised. That appraiser go and looked at the city records. They don't see this extra bathroom. Then next thing you know, somebody's at a crossroad where either you don't get credit for the bathroom and you want to sell it for 30,000 more and you can't. It can just be an absolute mess all the way back to the title company and the rest of it. So you want to do the right things right. And so selecting a good contractor and a lender and everybody involved is looking out for your interests is certainly a plus. And then we'll move to the last one, I think, Al. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more before that. All right. So while this is just something that you can put in your back pocket. This should not be something that's disclosed to any contractor, anybody else until you go to understand your scope of work of what you want to do. But the worst thing you can do is just go into this blind and not have some concept of what things may cost, right? And so, in the basic renovation, if you say, you know what, I'd like to have me an addition. This is kind of unfair, but because we don't know if it's just a single story addition, what goes in it. So, but just if you knew you had a 200 square foot or 250 or 400 square foot addition, you can take these numbers and just kind of multiply them just to have an idea. So that when you do go talk to Lori, that brings forth the, hey, look, whether you can put that with your either an existing mortgage and bring something in, or just getting an amortization calculator and just doing some of the rough things yourself before you go so you're more knowledgeable. And so you have these numbers where basic renovations may be 100, 150, mid-range 150 to 250, high-end 250 and above. Then you go into some of the examples for individual spaces. You can spend a 20 to 50 grand in bathrooms, 10 to 30 and excuse me, and I said that in reverse. In kitchens, 10 to 30 in bathrooms. Roof replacements can be 18 to 15, all depends on the size of the roof. HVAC systems can be 7 to 12 in normal cases, or higher when you start getting into split systems and doing different things. And so just in looking at these things, whenever you get estimates, make sure you get line items to those estimates. We as contractors, we like to just give you one lump sum so that you're not picking us apart and asking us a bunch of questions. But when you got someone that's looking to be transparent, looking to do the right things, that should not be an issue. And in the end, quite honestly, your lender is going to want all that stuff broken out as well, because they're not going to come out and pay each time and they don't know what they're paying for. They just don't write a blank check and say, yeah, no, it looks about a 5,000 worth of work. That's going to be on progress payments. And you never want to give the contractor any money up front until they start getting some of those work, that work done. So just be sensitive to a lot of that. And we'll go to the next one and then we'll take some questions. So once you get it together, I have a realistic to a timeline. If you're going to live there, and Laura and her group say you got to be done with this in 4 months, and this loan got to, you can't be in the way and expect somebody to finish it in a timely manner if it's a lot of work. So just be realistic as you approach it. And then the other part, in your own due diligence, in your dreaming of the renovation and making this really a dream come true, uh, do some comps. Just do some general things in the area. If the houses in the area, are reselling at 300 and you're buying your house at 200 with a $50,000 renovation, okay, that sounds good. But you can't know that, in the neighborhood they're selling for 350, you're buying it for 200, and somehow you want a $200,000 renovation too. Number one, the underwriting and the lender's not going to let you get that far, but you don't even need to waste your time or anybody else's, even the contractor, to come tell you what you should know. And so just be mindful of those things. And I really, thank you all for giving us the privilege to be on this call today and share some of this information. We certainly would like to be the contractor of choice, but if we're not, I hope these tips, along with the plans and things that Lori has to offer and the other contractors, these things go smooth.